Well, wake up, DC tri-state area. Is that what we call this area, Doug?
Sometimes.
Or the DMV. The DMV.
Sometimes, yeah.
What is it? District, Maryland, and Virginia.
It changes
My daughter always tells me.
month to month what you call the area. But yes.
Yeah, so wake up.
Wake up is constant.
We're on our Wake Up podcast. We're doing our 10th recording here. And I'm in our beautiful outdoor studio in Glen Echo Park area with my occasional sidekick Doug. And
hi.
Right, and then we have a special guest today. Her name is Jill, and I'll let her introduce herself to you guys. We're so happy to have you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Jill, and I've been asked to come talk on the podcast as being part of Sean's Monday meditation group for almost a year now, and really interested in discussing subconscious beliefs. I am a child and family therapist with a practice that I co-own called Growing Minds Center for Child and Family Therapy, where this is the work we do with children and families on a therapy level, and I am always interested in bringing my mindful meditation practice and that practice together into things like this.
Fantastic. I'm so glad we have you here with us today. Yeah, so this podcast, Wake Up, is about where we explore mindfulness in the everyday life. So typically just want to always, if possible, bring it down to earth to experiences that we've maybe had in the past week, months, or years. However, what pops to mind when we discuss these things. And again, the theme that Joe just mentioned today is unconscious beliefs, or as you called it, subconscious, but unconscious beliefs. So should we start with what do you think, what the open discussion of what mindfulness is? I sometimes like to refreshen up on that.
Well,
or you want to just dive right into what's an unconscious belief?
No, I like the question of mindfulness. I think being mindful is about being present and being aware, and I think in terms of, for me, my sitting practice has allowed me to become more aware and connected to my thinking, and I've had thoughts that I didn't hear until I got very quiet. I'm sure I've told the story about being at a retreat, and I was sitting by myself. There was one other person in the room, a large room. There were 100 of us or so. And I heard the voice, "I hate myself." And I opened my eyes and looked around and said, "It's like, who said that?" And, it was, and so just for me, becoming aware of what the voices are and what I'm saying to myself and trying to make conscious what I'm not conscious about, I think is helpful. And it's about being present, becoming aware of where I put my keys when I put something down.
Yeah, so I guess meditation is, and this is how I met Jill, and our Monday night meditation is where we spend a lot of time going inside ourselves and just being with whatever comes up at times, which brings new things to consciousness, you would say?
Yeah, I think it brings stuff that I'm not aware of to consciousness. For me, I'm going through a breakup right now of a romantic relationship, and there are things that I'm noticing that I was like, oh, I didn't know that my need for mattering was met in the relationship. I thought it was all about love and connection and touch, but no, there was more.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just saying, just becoming aware of
more.
I didn't realize. I knew I had a habit to want to save people, rescue, or play the role of rescuer. I didn't know that I wanted to be rescued. So just becoming aware and of what's going on inside of me and what needs I'm trying to get met at any given moment is valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. What? How can you add to this mindfulness discussion at the moment, or what are your feelings about it or thoughts?
My ideas about mindfulness is that it is, we talk about this a lot in our group, Sean, is that it's like going to the gym, but for your mind, and I'd even expand that from your mind into our entire nervous system. Our nervous systems really do need to practice being not as active as they need to be for the rest of the day. They usually need to be in some sort of action and not in some rest. And when we're in that rest, they call it rest and digest. And that's not just digesting your food. That's, as Doug, you were saying, digesting your emotions. And I think that what it's not is relaxing all the time. As you really very skillfully pointed out, we can have thoughts of, I hate myself, or what have I done, or even as minor of a thought as, why can't I sit still? I'm supposed to be sitting still to meditate. And we're going to show up sometimes in this way that doesn't feel relaxing, and in a way that sometimes does feel very peaceful during, or at the very least afterwards. And just like a workout, it doesn't always feel good. Sometimes it does. It doesn't always feel good while we're doing it.
Yeah.
But it is so healthy for us. And so for me, that's why it's part of my routine, because I can be so on the go. And this gives me the opportunity to practice allowing my nervous system to feel safe in slowing down.
Yeah. So you notice that when you meditate. So you're most mindful when you meditate? Are there times during the day that you're mindful? That you...
I feel like the meditation is practicing for the rest of the day. It's intentionally doing it so that my body will know how to then do it during the day when I'm feeling rushed, or I'll be able to notice, oh, there's that feeling again. There's that feeling of doing too much at once, or feeling a sense of urgency when there is none. That's my go-to uncomfortable feeling.
Right.
And knowing that I not even knowing, but my system, just having the practice, gives me more of an ability to notice when my nervous system is in that state, and able to intentionally slow it down for a mindful moment. Now, I say more often, but it's not all the time.
No.
It is always, it's a practice
Right.
that will
We're
always be a practice.
Right. Falling asleep, becoming conscious, falling asleep. It's like we're just sleepwalking through our days. But then, yeah. For me, too, the triggers are typically negative things. It's what I've come to learn to pay attention to. Whenever I'm agitated, driving in traffic, anytime there's an agitated feeling, then I know I'm not really present and I'm triggered, that there's something coming up from somewhere else. It's not, you know what I mean?
I do, but it makes me curious. Do you ever notice the times where you say, wow, I'm actually not triggered by this? You know, yesterday I was, and right now I'm not.
Yeah, right?
Do you ever notice that?
Yes, it's celebrating the good things.
A little bit of celebrating. But, you know, in mindfulness, and I was just reminded of this last week in one of my meditation groups, is that I do tend to celebrate when I feel ease, or I'm out of a state of suffering or pain. And what that can do is create a sense of desire to hold on to it and to grasp it. And so the practice continues to be noticing without over celebrating it, without saying this is the condition I need in order to be free of suffering, in order to be whole, and instead saying, that's interesting. This is a preferred condition. That's interesting. This is an unpreferred condition. Or, this is neutral.
Yeah,
and,
like the Buddhist pleasant, unpleasant, neutral.
Yes.
is one way to define it, yeah.
Yes. without celebrating when there's pleasant.
Well, I think celebrating is important, and I think it's a practice too. It's a practice to lean into gratefulness and the positive things in the world, right? I think it's easy to fall into the negatives. So I say hang on to those positives as long as possible. That's my modus operandi.
As long as it doesn't cause you more suffering to
Right.
feel like that was the only way that I'm
Oh, absolutely.
worthy or learning
Yes,
or
yes,
growing.
yes. Yes. So now to take this even crazy thought deeper very quickly, since we'll quickly run out of time, I'm afraid. Unconscious beliefs, which is our topic. What do we think? What's the definition of this to you guys? I'll ask you first. What you think it is?
Yeah, so I have to refer to Carl Jung for this,
Okay.
who says, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And I want to present this first as, what do you each think of that, of us calling
Until
it
you make
fate?
the unconscious conscious, you will call it fate. Doug?
Well, who cares what you call it? But I think until you make the unconscious conscious, it will have influence over how you lead your life. That some of the time may work, have results that you're happy about, and some of the time may have results that you're not happy about. And so I like the idea of becoming more aware and making more conscious decisions. I mean, that's the idea behind NVC, is that you recognize what need is alive for you that you want to get met, and then are you trying to get that need? Are you choosing a course of action to get that need met, or are you choosing a course of action that's going to have different results? If you're yelling at somebody, is that going to bring you connection and more love, or is it going to, or will you get a sense of, maybe it'll meet a need of respect for you? I don't know, but what need are you attempting to meet by whatever action you're choosing? And I think being more conscious of what your beliefs are will influence that. Too heady.
I know it's very heady. What do you got, Jill?
In terms of why he does use the word fate, I think it's very intentional to let us know that we'll think things are happening to us and around us that have nothing to do with us or our own inner workings. That we'll say, this is lucky, this is unlucky. This is what I'm destined to have happen to me, where exploring more of the unconscious lets us, as you were saying, make the more conscious decisions. I'd love to add in here that while Jung has a lot of the credit for bringing this into the psychology world, we knew a lot of this already in Buddhism, and he took it and reshaped it, and it continues to be reshaped into internal family systems, some know as IFS or parts work. It also shows up in cognitive behavioral theory as common core beliefs, which I can get into a bit more. What are those common core beliefs of the unconscious, and also how they come to be. As a child therapist, I see us shaping this in children, and we can reverse engineer that into how we shape it, how we've been shaped.
I like your point that he's calling it, the suggestion that he's calling it fate is we're not owning that we're not empowering ourselves and owning that we could be doing something different, and that and the way we're perceiving or reacting to something is it's not all just luck. I mean, luck is maybe involved, but there's a way in which by calling it fate or the world's against me or the luck is against me, it takes our ability to have power over our lives away from us.
Yeah, so I was just listening to a podcast today about, and I didn't get the guy's name, but, just talking about everything is a belief. Okay, so the whole construct of we're born into this world and we're in this, let's just call it white, cis, misogynist, whatever society that we are all in. And everything about our identity is created from this. We didn't create that. It's there. It's something we have to deal with, I think. We don't, we can own that we're co-creating things. I would guess that you guys, but every single thing is a belief, the whole construct of it. So for us as Buddhists, to me, it's kind of like unlearning, and as an artist, unlearning these beliefs, not believing the beliefs, just noticing their beliefs and stories. And going, oh, wow, I have that belief and story about my sex life or my love life or whatever. And
yeah, that's interesting. I mean, particularly when you talk about identity. Identity
yes,
itself is whatever your identity is. I can't see having an identity without some beliefs, whether they're conscious or unconscious. And my guess would be both are involved.
Mm-hmm. So some call this the water we swim in, that if you were born into this water, you don't know that you're wet.
Right.
I also, on a more like shadowy side, I like it being called the pickle you're brined in.
Okay.
But it's the same idea. It's what has created you or what has shaped you, and how do you start recognizing if you're in the water? How do you say this is wet until you have to compare it to dry? And if we do the pickle that you're brined in, how do you go back to being a cucumber, or do you just recognize the vinegar in yourself? I think that's for you.
That's hilarious. Yeah, so I'm pickled over here. I don't care. I'm a pickle. Yes, you recognize the pickling, you unpickle the pickling, and you're aiming for an aspirational identity is what this guy was talking about. So, this...
A what?
An aspirational identity.
That's an identity with holes in it?
Freedom, moving beyond the identity, be the creator of our beliefs and our identity, right? So instead of saying, I'm this identity, I'm that, we're moving toward, I think of it amorphously as an artist, like it's just our bigger, better selves, like we aim for this bigger thing. And I have to hold this because my notes are in here.
So
yeah,
an idea of what's right and wrong, and we're aspiring to be this thing, and I wonder if that's a lot of this is shaped by, yes, our culture, but let's name what those pieces of the culture are, which is what we've heard from our own family of origin, and then expand that out to what we hear from our educational system and our own experience in the educational system. And then expand that out to community beliefs and norms. Expand that out again to what we see in the media, in politics.
So I like to make it real. Any real stories, people from this week or last week? Can we give some some examples of how you or I or Jill have transcended some kind of belief and brought us conscious belief to the surface somehow? Does something come up when I ask you that?
Absolutely. So one of the core common beliefs that we talk about in cognitive behavioral theory is responsibility. And
Love it.
Yeah, and so this is one of my core beliefs. I'll say what some of them are, because maybe it'll bring up some stories for each of you, and then I'll take it back to my story of responsibility.
Okay.
So the other titles are lovability, defectiveness. Defectiveness. I am defective. There's something wrong with me.
What's wrong with me?
I'm going to pull up some of the phrases about that, actually. Let me see here. I am incapable, I am insignificant. That's some of the defectiveness. There's entitlement, which is I must be respected or I can't take it. I can do nothing wrong. Others should satisfy my needs. There's abandonment, which is they'll leave if I set boundaries. I need others to validate my worth. I can't be happy on my own. There's helplessness. Things like I can't achieve, I'm trapped, I can't change, I'm out of control and unsuccessful. And then lovability that I mentioned. I'm unlovable, I don't fit in, I'm unwelcome. I heard you talk about that on a previous podcast, wondering if others would choose you or not choose you, and it made me think about the lovability category. So maybe you'll want to talk more about that. But for me, my key one that shows up right now that I'm working with is responsibility, which is I can't ask for help. My needs are unimportant. I'm responsible for others and other people's feelings. And I need to be so responsible that I'm achieving in a very high way. And so my story around that is my Mondays through Wednesdays are packed with things that I love. I'm seeing clients. I'm meeting with people in my practice for new ideas and to start and enhance our programs. And then on Thursday, it's a quieter day for me. And that day I supervise my clinicians. And so I may hear about 40 to 50 different clients that day in maybe just 3 hours or so.
Wow.
I'm holding space for these different stories, and I love it. And I love what my clinicians are doing to help others. And then after I'm done at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, I have a whole list of things that I need to do now that the rest of my day is going to be quiet. And I used to plug away and keep going. And in the last few weeks, every time I go to my list, I turn around and I start cooking something in the kitchen, or I
Something
reorganize
totally
my closet,
Uh-huh.
or I lay down and say, I actually really need to just meditate right now. And I light a candle and I fall asleep. I say I'll go out for a quick walk for 5 minutes and come back and do my list. And instead I end up wandering for an hour and never come back to my list. This has been for a few weeks now.
Okay.
And I thought, what is wrong? What do I need to fix? How do I need to rearrange my week? I don't want to take this away because I love it. I don't want to take that away because I love it. I love everything I'm doing in the week.
Wow.
But there's something wrong because at 2 or 3 o'clock, I should keep working until 5 o'clock. What are you hearing when I say that? I want to hear your responses
some
before
kind
I
of
tell you what I
crazy
came
belief that you have a need to be productive in order to be valued or something, or to
Yes.
feel like you're making a contribution or to be doing your part or something that, what do you think, Doug?
Well, I thought that there was more to the story that was coming about how I thought you were going to say that you decided that what you were doing instead of doing the things on your list was what you were going to keep doing, and that you were accepting that. That's what I was waiting to hear.
I am
I
now.
think she is.
I
I'd say
am
she is.
now, but only as of a few days ago.
Really? So
So
you
I-
became conscious of it a few days ago.
I became conscious of it because I have a women's group where we always work on bringing our unconscious conscious.
Okay.
And this happened
Love
to
it.
be one of the topics, is how we balance out our days. And I said, oh, I thought I was doing a great job with balancing out my day, but I must not be because I'm having burnout by Thursday. And wow, when I said that out loud and got some reflection back, because for me, it does take some mindful dialogue, some reflection.
Processing with another, hearing it from others, or right?
Absolutely, and
Yeah.
hearing others' experiences with this, and I thought when I said it out loud that they would agree with my unconscious beliefs of you need to cut back on this. Let's look at your schedule. Let's see why you're burning out so that you can keep going on Thursday. Can you believe that? And instead they said, "Wait, what's the problem
There's
here?"
no problem at all. You're doing
Is
all the
this
beautiful
okay?
things. You're taking,
Yes.
you're doing your things,
Yes.
which need to be done. Oh God,
Yes.
as a creator, you gotta do it.
However, the thing I'm realizing now as I'm talking about it, the thing that eased my mind still fits into my core belief.
Which is,
I thought, well, at least I'm sprinting, right? Some people work like a sprint, some people work like a marathon. And I said, well, I'm sprinting and getting enough done Monday through Wednesday and half of Thursday. So maybe I deserve taking this time off. That's still where I am.
that's the story. Yeah.
That's my story right now.
You're
But
telling
maybe
yourself.
now that I've said it, let's see what happens in the next few days if I let go
Well,
a
I'd
little
buy
bit
that
more.
one. You do deserve it. Take it. Take all of the
But
time.
do we need to deserve it? That's
no.
my
Absolutely.
that's my
No.
subconscious or unconscious
No,
belief
yeah.
is that I need to work hard enough in order to earn.
No, you don't need to
Rest.
deserve it. No, absolutely. You deserve it just merely by being alive. But so that's a bad choice of words on my part.
Hard to
I mean,
believe.
I know, I
yeah,
know.
you can have that thought, but for your body to actually believe it and take it in and breathe it is another. I was with a couple friends yesterday, and we were talking exactly about that. And one person said they had come to the heady understanding that they, just by being alive, they deserve. It's okay for them to have. They deserve, love and care and appreciation.
Yeah,
But
some
the-
of us
but
were
the-
raised
but
with
the
enough
body
of that,
doesn't-
but
the
not
body
very
doesn't.
many.
The body doesn't take it in. That doesn't mean you
Well-
you really believe it. That just because you say it and think it, part of you may think it, part of you, parts were,
Yeah.
may if the belief is strong, you not believe it.
Yeah, so that's the practice, bringing it consciously to our to our consciousness. So what have you got? Anything that you've opened up this week?
Well, I mentioned some things earlier,
Yeah.
and I'm good with what I brought up.
Just the need for, it was with the breakup with the girlfriend and a need for, oh God, what was it, Jill?
Well,
He had a need for,
There was a lovability and maybe a abandonment kind of a
recognizing
on
that,
there.
I think one of the things I mentioned was
Culture.
recognizing that
Support.
mattering was a
Mattering.
need that I get meant in relationship.
to
I'm
matter.
I'm
So that was
also-
lovability.
I'm also
Right, that's
looking at is it possible that I can, this is from my parenting the inner child stuff that I'm doing, can I nurture and support myself? Can I, instead of trying to take care of other people or wanting somebody to take care of me, can I take care of me? And can I direct myself and suggest myself? And I had an hour and a half today where I struggled to take care of the things that I wanted to work on and were important to me. I struggled to be able to be present with that. Whatever, I'm co-leading a workshop this weekend, and it would help me if I could prepare a little bit more for it. I think is the story.
So you're just having issues
But-
focusing this week or something?
Well, I had
Because you're disturbed.
trouble focusing and bringing myself to being productive to meet the goals that I have set for myself. I trust that I will take care of it and I'll do it. But it's interesting to notice, can I get, you've seen my basement apartment, can I work at organizing, bringing some more order and to my life and to my living situation, which would something that I want as a goal.
Yeah, so there's something unconscious driving that. We don't know what it is. Your inability to be
Yeah.
organized. Ability to be
Well,
disorganized.
there's a belief about needing to be organized that might be there. If we don't have that belief, if we live in a system or with others and we've only seen disorganization, if there wasn't the Marie Kondo movement
There you go,
happening
Doug.
about how important it is to be organized,
There you go.
there may be less of a level of discomfort with being disorganized. Maybe.
Maybe. I'm not influenced by the Marie Kondo movement. In fact,
All right, so it's still the water you're swimming in, though, even if you're not personally.
Yes,
There you go.
right, but I've been swimming in that water long before she came around.
Of course.
I mean,
Just a pop culture reference I wanted to throw
Right.
in.
I mean, but I've been struggling with this and getting support
Yes.
for this and as an issue and reading books about this for 40 years.
Yeah, there's
And she's
something.
been
There's
around
something.
For about 20.
Yeah, there's something under it that's definitely keeping you.
But that wasn't my point.
Okay.
My point was my ability to. I'm looking at my ability to take care of and support myself. is the point. And do what I think is valuable and important to me. And that I struggled with that today. You asked for us to bring examples, and we have. What about yourself?
Oh, well, I'm just reading back through my notes. I wanted to just throw it out there. Like, how do we see ourselves as someone powerful? Like, how do we lift ourselves up, you know?
So before we even go there, I'd like to hear your example of what one of your beliefs are and how that's maybe worked to you this week.
Well, the only one that keeps popping to mind is a sex one. And I don't know if I want to go there.
Well, what about if I could help kind of guide you in something that I've heard you say on a previous podcast.
Okay, go for it.
You were talking about that during the cuddle part. What was
So
it
you
called?
listen to
A
the cuddle puddle, yeah.
A cuddle
Yeah.
puddle.
Uh-huh.
That you said you weren't sure if anybody would choose you, and you have some beliefs around that.
Oh, yes, that was, yes. I
Yeah,
definitely had
and
it.
so maybe even if it's not this week, maybe you could.
Well,
talk
that was
about
last
how
year.
that-
So that was a whole year ago now.
So how has
was a
that
year ago
shown
we
up?
talked to
Oh,
Dana?
my
That's
God.
awesome. So
Over a
how
year
has that
ago.
shown up for you? And has that shifted at all now that you've kind of recognized
good
that
point, good
belief
point.
in yourself?
Yeah, I mean, yes, it has shifted. I am growing my confidence in my relationship. It'll be a year and a half really soon with my girlfriend. So finally being intimate after a whole more than a decade alone. And so I have way more confidence about sexuality and sex itself because I had gone without for so long. It made me feel very...
But this was about being chosen, right?
Uh-huh. So I was in those rooms
Has
with these
anybody
people.
chosen you in the last year and a half?
Well, when Dana, they fought over me during that episode. Did
Who?
I share that? The wheelchair and the other woman and another woman. I was being fought over in that episode over a year ago. That's over a year ago.
And
now.
how did that land? Did that shift anything for you?
Well, it all shifted because since I had a girlfriend, I wasn't on the prowl. So there's an energy
Your
thing.
girlfriend, you had a girlfriend, a woman chose you?
So, yes, I've been with my girlfriend now a year and a half.
So
So
she
last
has
year I was with
chosen
her.
you.
Uh-huh.
So here's the thing. Say you're not with her at some point. Are you still going to have the core belief that you're worthy of being chosen?
Oh, of course.
That you're
No, I
lovable,
always
because
know
it's-
that. No, I always know that was just a fear. That was a fear that popped up briefly in those moments.
Right, but what I'm
Because-
saying is you have the preferable conditions to feel lovable and chosen right now, but it's really in the unpreferred or the unpleasant moments, like Doug was saying about
Yeah.
when you're going through heartache. These are the times that you can really recognize what's there. When you're in the parts that you don't like, you recognize what is really a core part of me, and what was I feeling only because of the conditions were in my favor to feel this. See what I'm saying?
Yes. No. Very good point. No. Absolutely. No. And it's nature, nurture, nature. So the more in practice, so the more we are in, our own power and know that we do have some agency there. So for years I felt I didn't have any agency. and those came out of core beliefs that I had chosen. I had a core belief that I had chosen all my girlfriends up to that point. So in my 20s and 30s, I was the seducer. I've told this to my girlfriend. I seduced anybody. I was pretty much I had like at least a 90%, maybe 95%, acceptance rate of I could make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
But then what happened was a lot of those women were straight, and then they would fall back and go back to men. And so with my ex, I was with my ex for 14 years. After that, and then I was in the desert years, I wanted somebody to choose me. It's a belief I had that I couldn't be the chooser, because if I chose them, they would fall back out. So I just talked to her about this very recently, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So do you get it? It's just a belief that, okay, I've been choosing them, and then it never really worked out because I chose them and I could seduce them, but what does that really mean if they're not really choosing me from the heart?
Mm-hmm.
So
you made it conscious by talking about it.
Yes, and I made it clear to my girlfriend that she chose me. I let her know
that was very cool, though.
Because she was like, we wouldn't have gotten together. You wouldn't have kissed me. And I was like, look, I want to make this quite clear. I actually wanted you to choose me. It was part of a core belief I had that you needed to choose me for me to believe that you may be something like of the material that I'm looking for in a long-term partner. Because I want it to be authentic. I don't want to be the seducer of that.
So two questions. One is, I just want to point out that one strategy for bringing unconscious beliefs to the consciousness may be about talking about them and verbalizing it.
Oh, absolutely, right? Isn't that why in my book?
Okay.
I mean, I'm a processor, Doug.
Okay. So,
I don't get anywhere.
All right.
Just on my own, it's very rare that the nugget appears. It sometimes appears, but it appears through conversation.
Are you agreeing? I mean, I don't know why you said all that. All you had to say is, I agree. Right?
Yeah. I'm blathering on, but yeah.
Okay. And the other thought was, what I heard was, let's say things don't work out with you and your current girlfriend. Do you internally now believe that you're lovable and that somebody...
I've always believed that I was lovable. I never didn't believe that I wasn't lovable.
And so during the last year and a half,
it's like the parts thing. No, it's just the parts. We're parts.
So
and sometimes, right, sometimes that part will appear, but it's not.
So sometimes part of you will...
I've known I've been lovable. I told you, I had a communion with God in a way when I was 7 or 8 years old, this is the story I've told, where these catechism kids were teasing me about going to hell. And I didn't have the words for lesbian, but I knew I was gay. And I knew that if God had created it, so I knew I was lovable. Like, I was created this way.
But choosable. Maybe not lovable, but choosable.
Oh, I'm definitely choosable. Like I told you, I seduced 95% of them.
But you used that to say you were chasing and you needed to be chased and chosen.
Oh, yes. My ex chose me, and then this one actually chose me, yes.
Right.
Let me put it this way.
But she would have almost chosen anybody. No, she's going to hate to hear that. I do feel like...
we are
but not
think
really.
in agreement that you're not necessarily grabbing what we're suggesting.
Oh, I'm not avoiding.
And that's okay as far as I'm concerned. I don't want to pursue it anymore.
No, do. What?
I will say that at some point in the next couple weeks, I'm sure the opportunity will come up, and I will get the chance to say to you, are you saying that you're not choosable?
What, Jill? What is he saying?
Well,
of course I think I'm choosable.
Okay, so I have a way to progress this. Once we have once we recognize our unconscious thought, right? We've said that we recognize it sitting mindfully, meditating, discussing with others, processing with others. Great. We've recognized our unconscious belief. That's the start. Now what do you do with it? How do you sit with it?
Okay.
How do you stay with it?
Yeah, very
or
good.
do
very
you
nice.
not?
That's right. Thank you for progressing.
So what do you do with it next?
So what you do with it is, I notice that, oh wow, and I have that story, and I have that story. Oh, I have this story that I needed you to choose me. It's just a story. There's no, you know what I mean?
So you notice.
Right, and I said it to my girlfriend.
And you say it.
Right, you say it, hey, I noticed I had this story.
And it also sounds like you identified your need in your story and asked for your need to be met in this case.
I
I
mean,
want to be chosen.
so I mean, what
I wanna
I'm
choose
looking
and be
for,
chosen.
and I'm hoping you're trying to get to, is the way that I can shift my core belief.
Yeah.
All right. So what? So all right. So I recognize it. You know, as in rain, perhaps.
Yeah.
I acknowledge it.
Recognize, allow, investigate, nurture. That was an acronym. We don't want to throw stuff out here without
So
clarifying it for people.
people have been either listening to the show or they're not.
Okay,
If they
okay.
don't get it this time, they'll listen to another show.
You'll put
They'll
a
get it.
link under.
Right. All right. So, but my point is, so once you recognize it, you bring it to consciousness. You talk about it. You discuss it. You see how it's influencing you. How do you shift it?
Yeah. I'm curious. What do I have a few practices that I do that I'm just thinking of now. It's nothing that I have written down as a how-to.
Well, this-
but I'm curious for each of you as well. What
I.
do you do? Do you stay with it? Do you avoid it? Do you?
You stay with it.
Well, that's the idea.
You stay with
in order
it.
to shift it, but how do you stay with it?
So
How
here's some
each
tools
of you-
this guy came up with that I was listening to this podcast. Mindsets, witnessing, imagination, and embodiment. These were 4 tools. He used fear as an example. So what's your mindset around it? Obviously our cognitive, how we're perceiving it, blah, 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 blah.
So
Witnessing
how do
it.
you get your mindset around it? I would say the talking about it, the journaling is how you clarify your mindset. around
Journaling
it.
is. I know that journaling has been very useful for a lot of people.
You know, us with NVC,
I
it's
struggle
feelings
to
and
do it.
needs. We practice.
Great. So what is your way? If not my way,
I don't-
it's
I
very
struggle
much
to do it.
journaling.
NVC.
Okay.
Well,
there
Yes,
are.
NVC is a method I use.
A lot.
Okay, so it's kind of looking at questions that it asks you and kind of answering it almost in a template.
I
kind of
try to connect
manner.
to the feelings and the needs that what needs of mine am I meeting?
Okay.
What needs of mine are alive for me? Do I want to meet? And what needs are being actually met by my strategy? And what needs are being met by not doing what I really want to do?
Mm-hmm. And it can be helpful to, I don't know if you still do this, but for me it's helpful to look at a list of potential needs that I might
Yeah.
have and kind of check and say like, oh, this one, oh, that one. I wouldn't have thought of that
Sure.
one if it
Yeah,
wasn't on
needs
the list.
lists can be very helpful. I
Yeah.
have some on my. I have a.
How do you do
app
it?
on my phone.
How do you do it?
Yeah, I love that, the needs list, and I love that you said that you have it on your phone because then you can pull it up as soon as you start feeling something coming up for you. You talked about the embodying it, so recognizing there's something shifting in your mood, in your energy. For me, I'll tell you, it's in my digestion
Okay.
immediately.
You can feel it if
some
you're-
belly things happening.
If something negative happens, if you feel
If there's
indigestion, then it's
something-
negative, and if it's
Mm-hmm.
yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people's energy levels and
Mm-hmm. And how about
lethargicness.
for you for the first step on that list that you just said from this person?
Are we down to embodiment part, the third part?
I think we were in the first.
Well,
part
those
still.
things, all the things we've mentioned, and
What were the
So you've
what were
also
the
embodiment-
things in the list that you just read?
Right. You've also mentioned
This
that
is
you're an
just one
artist, you're a
version.
creator, and so sometimes words don't do it.
Right.
Movements do.
absolutely.
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
my God,
Right.
singing,
Ah!
dancing, making
Right.
sounds.
Making
No, I know.
sounds.
I'm big on all
Throwing
of
your
it.
arms out.
Absolutely, dancing.
Color on paper.
All of it.
Whatever it turns out to be, color,
Mm-hmm.
lines, something, getting it down on paper.
So the
Putting on songs that you align with in that moment, even if it's not you creating. Somebody has created something that you can relate to.
That can get me stuck. That I more
the songs can get people stuck in some
songs
weird
can keep me
NUI or
in a-
something.
in
But
a- in a-
yeah,
in a
people
place.
people can often
They-
just
If the desire is to be with a feeling, then songs can be helpful to explore and to stay with a feeling. But in terms of shifting myself, I like what you're saying about getting into the body, and there's some things with interplay about that moving the body and telling stories with body movement that can be helpful.
And also, it's a subtle thing that I think comes about for me. It's a subtle thing
Yes,
through this
it
meditating thing, because there's a place where I get to. I have a lot of issues around loneliness, right? Being alone, how it should look, being with a partner, because we're only together like twice a week or something, mostly on the weekends. So I'm alone a lot, Monday through Thursday, and so there's an embodiment of that abandonment feeling or aloneness that I push away. And the more and the more and the more I can sit with that, it keeps kind of shifting and shifting. And it's now I felt it tip into a more centered place. So it's more only that I can describe it to you as a feeling of kind of like this. I do love the fall, and I love this crisp air, and it's sort of empowering feeling to me, like superhuman-y feeling. And to me, the leaves changing, the fire of it, it's not death. To me, it's rebirth. It's actually regenerative, holistic, like it's the hummus, like the leaves are the richness. So everything about this, so there's a kind of like we're going into the hardest time of the year, which is the holidays, and I don't know, I have to, day by day, week by week, there's no future, I don't know, and I just have to be okay and just sort of cast a thing into January. So how I do it is I throw a hope into the future that I'll reassess it then, and in the meantime I'm just going to be my best person in this situation, be with this feeling. And it's a weird feeling, but it's shifting. It's a kind of a more empowering, how do I describe it? Am I just being too wiki-whack?
Not at all. I think what we're coming to here is that there's work that we can do and effort that we put in, and then ease that we can take to let it refill our bodies in new ways. And for you, you're saying it's seasonally really affects you. It also brought up for me that when I'm really feeling like I'm chewing on something for a long time and not swallowing and processing, acupuncture, massage, body work that I'm not doing just for myself, but that I'm seeking help and support to continue to process it through my nervous system.
Yeah. Yes. Very good.
Yeah, I find body work can be very helpful for me. And
I've never done the acupuncture, but you like it. It really works, huh? Well, yoga does that. Yoga can definitely do that.
Yeah, I'm a believer in acupuncture. It's somewhat of a sensitive issue for me, but I'm a believer in it. It definitely can help.
Just release things. It's so weird. Just yoga. That's what they always talk about. Oh, hip openers. Boom. Next thing you know, you're crying. You know what I mean?
Right.
You do this stuff and you're like, what?
Yeah, yoga is a very talked about way, but what about those who run to process what's happening in their body, or lift weights, or do MMA, right, mixed martial arts, to process through some sort of a movement that suits you for who you are, but also who you are in this moment in time?
I've just started a process of breath work. Which is allowing me to. I've done a little bit of primal scream, and it's really difficult for me to access the what I call exforming, an interplay term of letting information out. To access it, some people can sink into it and just stuff comes out of them. It's lovely, and I don't quite have the ability to do that as easily as I would like, but being led into some breath work, I have been able to exform and have some of my best primal scream work in the breath work. Where just stuff just pours out of me, and I don't even know the story related to it, but it's very freeing and satisfying.
Yeah, and so
it feels like it may have the ability to shift.
Yes, that leads me to another question. Do we always need to know?
Right.
So we
Good
started
point.
with this, if we make the unconscious conscious, does it have to be conscious in words, or can it be pre-verbal? Because much of
Pre-verbal?
our...
Pre-verbal.
Pre-verbal and without words. And can we leave it sitting in our emotion center
Love
and
it.
our survival center of our brains and our nervous systems? Does that count? Would Jung count that as bringing
Well,
the
my
unconscious to
question is,
consciousness?
would
Yeah, I
you-
love it.
would
It's a
you
great.
count?
I count it. I love it.
Young's not here.
It's unconscious,
You are.
conscious,
What's your
unconscious.
opinion?
It's the conscious,
I
unconscious,
do
unconscious.
lean on theory. I do lean on theory a lot. But okay, I'll let go of that, and we'll talk about what do you believe?
Yeah, I don't believe it has to be verbal.
Yeah.
So here's a couple little quotes. Consciousness has no shape. It takes on whatever, with daily practice, it takes a shape. And like for an example, for courage, what does it feel like to show up with courage? So this would be under the tools of mindsets. Like just asking yourself questions like, what does that look like? And, what does courage look like? I know. These are just tools. But yeah, I do love the unconscious one.
In
Even
interplay, we say we do stuff and then we notice,
Because
and then we also say you can notice things and not have words for it.
Ooh.
yeah, so like to make it salacious again for the last minute, I was telling Doug earlier that I had it on my to-do list this week to do a sexual act by myself to see if I could do a thing that I could maybe hopefully in the future share with my girlfriend. And so yeah, in doing the thing, not only did I, do you want to know what the thing is?
No, I was just
She doesn't
thinking
wanna
we
know.
somehow
What,
steered
you got
you
any
away to
pictures?
clean.
What?
We steered you away to clean things up, and still it always circles
Comes
right
back to intimacy.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
this has just happened. It's because
Sure.
it just happened this week, like today. When did it happen?
I
Yesterday.
wasn't there.
Okay, well, it just happened, so that's why it's on my mind. But it also is just putting it on a to-do list. Like it's a conscious effort to open myself up intimately, right? Intimately with myself,
There,
and it's like use it or lose it, kind of thing. So it was about it's all a practice, including our sexuality, and I'm constantly trying to grow it. And so I'm just saying it was on my to-do list. I got to it. It miraculously worked. What I did, like it didn't work at first, and but then it did, and so there was a breakthrough. And I'm saying, like, I wouldn't have thought that it would happen that way. I mean, I can not or not tell you.
Well, it's interesting. One of the things that she talked about, and I believe it's one of the things that Buddha talks about it, and now this is a question, efforting is basically
discipline, right?
well,
Commitment. These are things. Well,
putting
it's for a whole nother little podcast.
But is effort? Does the Buddha talk about efforting?
Well, this guy talked a lot about it. Commitment.
Well, the question of the podcast that you started out with was that you wanted to connect it to Buddhism. So I'm wondering if
did I?
Buddhism in everyday life is
Mindfulness in everyday life, not Buddhism.
Mindfulness.
Yes,
Thank you very
no,
much.
just self-awareness.
Okay, well,
no, not Buddhism.
Okay, well,
good God.
in mindful-
Buddhism does help us.
Oh,
does
very
guide
much.
us.
Just like NVC or therapy or all of it. Walking.
in
No, Doug, it's all,
mindfulness,
I'm talking about being alive, being
in mindfulness,
uh,
the point
evolved.
being is to decide that you want to do something, and to make an effort. One way to perhaps bring about change is to make the decision to do something about it and put effort and energy behind it.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
you did on your thing. You said, "Oh, I want to explore something sexually."
It's a
that I
discipline.
haven't
Like
done
it's
before.
just part of the whole
I'm
thing.
going to
Of
do
self-care.
this.
It's a self-care thing.
And you
Yeah.
put it on
It's
the
like
calendar.
cooking dinner. It's on the calendar. Like I'm gonna cook dinner or not, whatever. You know what I mean? It's like eating.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get
Or
my
exercise.
point about efforting?
Yeah. Thank you
That
for
you-
acknowledging that I'm efforting on my sexual sides.
That you made a decision to explore something and try something, and I believe in your case it was successful. You actually,
I figured some stuff out. Yeah.
I thought you had did you climax?
No, it wasn't about that. Doug.
I know it's not
Thank
about
God.
that, but I'm just saying that's one of the side benefits. No.
No, that was
Okay.
just No, that was just something else.
Okay.
That was a sidebar to what I
Okay.
was doing.
Okay.
Women are
honestly.
much more complex, I think, sometimes.
It's like he always goes to the freaking
No, I don't always go to it.
Yeah.
I rarely go to that.
climax thing.
You
It's
usually
not about the
bring-
climax. Yes,
you
the
bring that
climax
up
thing was
much
in there
more
because
than I do.
Doug, I'm going to talk about it, but just because it's hilarious. Yes, it's in there just because might as well include that. And I'm going to, that's just like another, discipline when you're doing that.
Okay, so back to effort
Like masturbating.
and
I mean, come on.
ease. Okay,
Yeah,
back
we're
to
running out of time.
effort and ease.
Yeah.
There was an effort that you put in terms of discipline, but now you get to, after you've pushed through that kind of self-limiting whatever belief that you had around this, now
Mm-hmm.
you can live more in the ease, it sounds like, and then
Yeah.
when there's the next point of growth, you'll go back
Thank
to
you.
the effort.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
think that's where we were going.
Thank you.
No,
Because we
it
got
was about
stuck
efforting
in
and
the-
that it
Yeah.
paid off. Yeah.
Yeah. And
So-
so we are running to the top of the
so-
hour here.
Can I?
So
Can
yeah.
I give my kind of final
Yes,
comments
please.
Please.
Let's do
here?
it. Yeah.
We're talking about this from the perspective of adults who have, whatever we want to say, swam in water, pickled in brine. And my work surrounds working with children.
Yeah.
And so in that work, I'm constantly thinking about what are we saying to children, about children, and even about ourselves and each other around children that will shape their beliefs and their unconscious beliefs about themselves. Not only do we need to be careful about not giving them messages about about needing to earn their lovability and their responsibility and them not being defective and that whole list of beliefs, but we also, knowing this, can create beliefs for them that they are capable and they are lovable and that they are strong and that they are resilient, and that that one of, I think, the most revolutionary kind of concepts to make it into pop psychology via Brene Brown
Okay.
is vulnerability.
Yep.
That there's so much strength in vulnerability.
Mhm.
And I think that if we can intentionally bring these messages to this next generation, we're going to be in much better hands in a few decades.
Wholeheartedly agree. I love the work you're doing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Just because we didn't get what we needed when we were young doesn't mean the next generation doesn't have to not get what they need to know that they are all these things and that we can help instill this in them. Absolutely.
Yeah,
As
and-
we rub
and
up against.
There's certain things that we say to children that have become so natural to say to them that I'd love to provide a list for
Let's
you.
do it. These are
of
things
them
we don't
and
want to say or
why
do.
We don't
are
want to
don'ts,
say
okay?
and what to say instead. What message we're sending
Okay.
when we say these things and what to say instead. And I'll provide a PDF for you to post as a link on under this. And just
Just
for
give us a few for
just
now.
for an example that I hear a lot in schools and it's been leaking to home is make good choices today, as
Uh-huh.
if when we make a mistake it is
Right.
a bad choice.
Brilliant. Yep. Love it. Love it.
I'll say more in the
In the
PDF
next podcast that
well,
we
I
have
thought
you here
were
for.
going to do something like
Naked choices. Make some mistakes, kiddos. That's what I always say.
Oh, I like
Tell me
that.
your good mistakes that you made this week. Yeah.
What did you learn from your mistakes?
Yes, and how many
today?
times did you fall on your face this week? I can tell them. And how many, times did it flip around too?
I have a
Right.
fear of making a mistake. It's paralyzing.
Paralyzing. We are running
Um,
to the top of the hour. We need to do our gratitude.
It's a podcast.
Yeah.
It can run an hour and 8 minutes.
Okay, Doug. What else do you want to say?
Hour 12 minutes. Also, or you can edit it.
Yeah.
And people will listen to it on double time anyway. That's what I do.
Oh, that's hilarious. I can't go ahead.
That's funny. Yes, people do that. Well, what I've been trying to figure out is what things were said to me as a child that I'm not aware of, and how was I influenced by that? Where did I get the idea that I can't make a mistake from? I mean, I don't think my parents ever said that to me, but somehow that got through. I thought you were going to suggest things like, you know, with some of the things we say to kids about, oh, you did good,
Yeah.
or you're great, or because of something that somebody did, and some of the quote praise that we give kids basically reinforces the idea that they're only as good as their worth is based on what
Yeah,
they
guess
do.
On making others happy and people pleasing. That's on the list as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
what
we
I
want to
thought you were-
describe
You're
the
right on the
action.
nose.
Right. We'd
Yeah.
prefer to describe the action rather than make a blanket statements, even though I love the word great. Yeah. More defining what's going on just so they can learn from it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, you were very inquisitive that day by saying blah, blah, blah. Or, right?
Yeah, you'll
Rather-
have the whole
Oh,
list.
the whole
There's
Okay.
I'd
there's
like
a
to
lot
see the
on
list.
there.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think this has been a lovely afternoon in this
Yes.
incredible fall weather outside. We haven't.
Thank you for having me here.
Thank you so
to
much
talk
for coming
about
out.
This matter that's so close to my heart.
Thank you. So,
Do you, when you
Doug-
see children in your office, do you insist on seeing parents as well?
Yes,
Is separate or at the same time?
both. All parents in our whole practice are very engaged with the work that we do. It has to be. It
Yeah,
has to be that way.
that's how I would think. Yeah.
And we also, our main goal is to, are we still recording?
yeah. So we need to
Oh.
end on a poem, and then we need to just say our,
Okay.
Our-
I'll talk to you more.
what is
about
it
that
called? What is
later.
it called that we do? What is it called? The loving kindness practice.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. So I'm
The
gonna,
metta?
the meta. Yeah. So we need to end this now. I'm gonna give you a poem called "To Build a Swing" by Hafiz. You carry all the ingredients to turn your life into a nightmare. Don't mix them. You have all the genius to build a swing in your backyard for God. That sounds like a hell of a lot more fun. Let's start laughing, drawing blueprints, gathering our talented friends. I will help you with my divine lyre and drum. Hafiz will sing 1,000 words that you can take into your hands, like golden saws, silver hammers, polished teak wood, strong silk rope. You carry all the ingredients to turn your existence into joy. Mix them, mix them. Okay, Doug.
May we all be happy, healthy, and may we take care of ourselves with gentle, loving ease.
May we take care of ourselves with gentle, loving ease. Be happy and what else, Jill?
Healthy and strong.
Healthy and strong.
May we be free from suffering.
Free from suffering.
Uh,
And free
say-
from
and-
unconscious beliefs.
And free from unconscious beliefs.
And live in the richness of unconscious beliefs.
And live in the richness
And
of
uncovering
unconscious
them.
beliefs as we're uncovering them and uncovering them and uncovering and covering them. All right, folks, join us again next time for Wake Up DMV. We love you and can't wait to do it again. All right, have a great one.
You need an electric
Say goodbye.
guitar.
Ching, ching, ching. Goodbye, Doug. Say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Say goodbye, Jill.
Bye.